Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. First segment of the show, we go through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. The second segment of the show, we're going to be breaking down my takeaways, my critiques of, and what I thought of the preseason game against the Buccaneers. After that, we're going to be going through the fan Q&A, and somewhere in between, we'll be doing the clip of the week. So if you like that, hopefully you stick around. We do the show each and every single Monday is when it is up for you guys to consume. So let's start with some news. Obviously, because it's what we're starting with. A lot of interesting news. So this news actually was dated to August 13th. So it's a few days old, but it's still very important. And we did not cover it on last week's episode. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins inquire on Redskins tackle Trent Williams. Again, this comes from Pro Football Rumors. For now, the Redskins are refusing to trade Trent Williams, but if they change their minds about parting with the offensive tackle, the Dolphins may be among the interested teams. The Dolphins reached out to the Redskins about a potential trade. The report comes from ESPN, that particular part. If you don't know, and that's really all the news, the Dolphins did reach out for a potential trade. I'm assuming it was shut down. But if you don't know, they're going through a lot of off-the-field issues with Trent Williams right now, and the Redskins organization really aren't seeing eye to eye. Currently, he wants a big payday. He's had issues with the medical staff over the last few years. And obviously, it just seems like the two are parting ways over the last few months. Or maybe it's just a month. It feels like it's been like 2 months, but they signed Donald Penn, which a lot of people thought was like, maybe they're signing an insurance policy, so when they trade Trent, there was heavy rumors that the Patriots were interested in Trent Williams in a trade. The trade rumors have been going on for a long time now, but this is the first, I guess, really it is a rumor. It is true that the Dolphins did reach out, which that's not a rumor. So I guess it's not a rumor technically, but this is the first news that we've had in terms of the two teams being connected, the Dolphins and the Redskins. So it's a very big deal. If you don't know who Trent Williams is, and if you're listening to this podcast, obviously you know, but he's one of the best players in the league. He's one of the best tackles in the league. Adrian Peterson, he said he was the best lineman he's ever played with. Just to throw, I guess, a quote out there for you guys, just in case, I don't know, you don't trust my opinion, but in my opinion, he's just probably he's probably the best all-around tackle in the league, he's up there at least. There's so many good tackles, but he's definitely up there. He can do everything. He can run block. He's athletic. He's a great pass protector. The only bad thing about his game is he rarely is healthy, and that's a big issue with them and the Redskins right now, and he blames it on their medical staff. That's a whole other issue. But if the Dolphins were able to get their hands on a trade like this, that would be a very special trade. Obviously, throughout preseason, the offensive line has not been playing very well. Now, a lot of that has to do with the backups playing a lot. Laramie has barely played at all throughout preseason, and when Jesse Davis has played at right tackle, he's actually played pretty well. And the guards are starting to come up a little bit. You got Shaq, who's also a rookie with Michael Dieter, and Michael graded out as a 91 overall grade from Pro Football Focus against the Buccaneers defensive line. So there's a lot trending in the right direction when it comes to the Dolphins offensive line. I think Jesse Davis is solid at right tackle. I think obviously Laremy Tunsil's one of the best left tackles in the league. Michael Dieter is getting better game by game. Shaq, I think he's solid. He's a steady. I think he's getting better as well. He's not perfect, but hopefully he continues to grow. And obviously Daniel Kilgore. But if the Dolphins were able to pull off this trade with Trent Williams, that would be amazing. We can move Jesse back inside if we wanted to. Jesse obviously has great depth as well. Trent could be moved inside if need be, which we definitely wouldn't do. But if he did become a Dolphin, we probably would have the best tackle duo in the league. It would be very hard for any edge rusher to get at our quarterback. Let's just put it that way. With those two guys guarding Josh Rosen or Ryan Fitzpatrick, whoever it might be, that's a pretty dang good offensive line right there. we just would need the interior to, be okay, because the tackles would be amazing. So yeah, hopefully the Dolphins. I mean, I would in every Dolphins fan's dream right now. That would be amazing if somehow the Dolphins pulled off True Williams. How would it happen? I feel like we have so much draft capital next year that we could totally do this without it being too much of a headache. I feel like the fact that he needs a new contract, we won't have to give up that much to get him because of that. So I think we could pretty much pull it off without having to give up a lot, especially since we have so many picks. So that's how I think it would go down. I think we would probably package a 3 and a 4 maybe a little bit later than a 4, and I think that would probably be a realistic compensation for Trent Williams, in my opinion. I think that's how that trade would go down. Maybe Rashad Jones gets thrown in there. Who knows? Maybe a receiver, because of the Redskins don't really have that many receivers. So I could see those as potential trade options. I apologize for the dogs if you hear them. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. It's hot. They're dogs. They're going to sound like that. I apologize. All right, let's go on to the next news story. That news story is really important, though, because if that does, that could potentially change his season because of how good he is. All right, this next news story is pretty old as well, but in case you don't know, we're going to go through it. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. Kenyon Drake likely done for preseason. Dolphins top running back Kenyon Drake is likely to miss the remainder of the team's preseason slate, and his availability for Week 1 is in question as well. Drake suffered a foot injury in Tuesday's practice. Of course, Miami is in the early stages of a complete... Here we go again with the rebuild stuff. So losing Drake for any regular season action won't exactly impact the club's postseason. Jesus. Just throwing heat. Everything. I cannot read an article without reading how bad we are. It's like, this doesn't even involve any... Like, they're like, oh, it really doesn't matter if Kenyon doesn't play because they suck anyway. Like, that's exactly... That's... I cannot stand, the media. I really can't. Anyway, yeah, Kenyon Drake's hurt. He's not going to play for preseason. I don't think there's any way that he won't play Week 1. I think he's definitely going to play Week 1. Yeah, I'm excited to see what Kenyon does in this scheme, in this offense. With him and Kalen back there, I mean, we really can run this offense like New England does because of the versatility in the backfield. We have also the same level of depth and versatility with Kenyon and Kalen. They both can do a variety of different things, which makes it really tough in this system because running backs are so active in the passing game that you can get up a lot of matchups. Both of them are really good receiving backs. They both did it in college. They both have done it in the pros. Kenyon's obviously better at it. He's just a lot more smooth in his routes. And he's definitely got better hands. But, I'm excited to see what Kenyon can do in this offense because I think it could be very special. So this is a big blow to the team. But I don't think, first of all, we don't need to see him in preseason. And second of all, I don't think he's going to be out for any extended period of time. I think he's going to play Week 1 if I had to bet. So I don't think it's that big of news. It's just you're not going to see him in preseason. This last news story, this is not the last news story, I apologize. This is just another news story. It's the last Pro Football Rumors news story. That's why I got it mixed up. This next news story comes from Pro Football Rumors. Is Minkah Fitzpatrick unhappy with his position? When the Dolphins drafted Minkah Fitzpatrick 11th overall last year, they knew he wasn't going to have one set position. He's been moved around a good amount, and Fitzpatrick might be a little frustrated with how the new coaching staff has been using him. Fitzpatrick's mom recently took to Twitter to respond to a beat writer's tweet that he was playing poorly, arguing the coaches shouldn't play him at strong safety. According to Adam Beasley of the Miami Herald, who was asked? Okay, yeah, Fitzpatrick was asked about it after practice. Fitzpatrick said, quote, "She's just being honest and saying how she feels. There's nothing wrong with that. I wish she would have addressed..." He's talking about his mom saying that stuff, that he was unhappy at his position. He says, we're going to listen to a clip later about this, so I'm not going to read the entire thing about what he said exactly. But yeah, he definitely does seem frustrated. And first of all, the reason he wasn't playing well in practice, the one day he didn't play well in practice, I love how everybody freaks out about this. He played strong safety. He was playing in the box. He was having a tough time against the run. So who cares? Dude, he doesn't play strong. Have you seen Minkah Fitzpatrick? Like, he is not a strong safety. He's a great cover player. He can play at any... If you want him to cover in any spot on the field, he can do that just fine. By the way, the bad practice that he had an interception. So it was not that bad of a practice. Maybe for Minkah Fitzpatrick it is, but you guys got to understand, the man is playing multiple different positions. And we're going to listen to a clip later in the show about him explaining it. But to say what he said basically was, the reason he's playing in the box is because people aren't, Rashad's hurt, TJ didn't play, or wasn't practicing that particular day. So that's why he was playing in the box. He basically said we were short and I had to play there. So I don't think this is going to be a thing that we're going to see. It's weird though, because I guess he's going to be playing, I guess, a little bit of dime backer, which is weird because why isn't he in the slot? But at the same, I don't know. It's basically the same thing, to be honest with you, especially depending on what coverage you're playing. I mean, you're going to be matched up with someone who's going to be a receiving threat at that point if you're in a third down defense. So I guess it's kind of the same thing anyway. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he's unhappy with it. I mean, it definitely doesn't fit. Dude, bro, ask any other free safety in the league to play strong safety and see how they feel about it. It's tough, man. I mean, it's a bit, you got to be a physical player. You got to be able to take on linemen. You got to be able to take on tight ends. You have to, be a good run defender, and you have to be, obviously really good in the tackle box. So yeah, this doesn't surprise me, is what I'm saying. But I don't think it's anything like to write home about. It makes sense, It's not like he's struggling at his natural position, which what really is his natural position. But when the regular season rolls around, everything will be fine. He's a matchup. He literally can erase. I mean, wherever you want to put him, he's going to erase whoever you put on him. Minkah is that good. So, this doesn't concern me at all for those reasons. The fact he was just struggling at strong safety, and it wasn't against the pass, by the way. So, okay. So this next news story. Let's see here. We might skip. Okay, so this next news story comes from Dolphins.com. Kalen Ballage had a very good week in joint practices against the Buccaneers. He had several long touchdowns. That's basically that entire story. He had a touchdown of 40, 70, and 40 yards. So those are some of the big plays he made. And that's basically all of the news there. But I do want to talk about this a little bit. Again, that came from Dolphins.com. I think people don't really understand. I mean, this didn't surprise me when I heard it. But, it's going to be ran a lot like New England. I mean, you guys have seen New England's offense. It's very versatile. It's very situational with who's going to be in the game. I don't think not one of these guys is going to be carrying 30 times. It's not going to be Tony Sperano or, Ricky Williams, Ronnie Brown again. It's not going to be like that, where someone is really one-dimensional. It's just going to be whatever the situation is, whatever the matchup is, whatever the look is, whatever the situation is, it's very fluid who's going to be out there. So this doesn't surprise me that Kalen has been taking a lot of the runs, even when Kenyon has been in there. I think it's just the way the offense is going to be ran. I don't think it has anything to do with how talented one player is over the other. Kalen is better at some things than Kenyon is, and Kenyon is better at some things that Kalen is. So they will be used accordingly. And I never really expected, the depth chart, especially for the running backs, doesn't mean anything. And especially for our roster, just because both of them are super talented. And even beyond that, I mean, Myles Gaskin's had he's had a solid preseason, and so has Laird, I think the running back from Cal. He's had a pretty solid preseason as well. So there's also depth there. So this whole who's gonna start, Kalen or Kenyon? it's really just going to be a fluid situation. I don't think, even though the depth chart may say something, that's just not how they're going to be used. All right, let's go on to some of these other news stories here. This last news story is pretty good one, and I actually cannot wait to talk about this particular player. This comes from Dolphins.com. Sam Aguavin, I think is how you say his name, or Govin, or yeah, I think it's Aguavin. Yeah, I think it's Aguavin. Making a huge impact. This comes from Dolphins.com. The Dolphins have had a success through the year signing players from the Canadian Football League, and it sure seems like they've got another keeper in linebacker Sam Aguavin. Yes, it's very early in the process, and there's 2 weeks left before NFL rosters will be trimmed down to their 53-man limit. But what we've seen in training camp and in preseason suggests Sam could find himself in a role for the Dolphins defense in 2019. So I'm going to stop it right there because it's just really going down. I'm going to give you, and this kind of bleeds into my takeaways of the Dolphins-Buccaneers preseason game, but we're going to talk about this anyway. To me, he's been the biggest surprise of the preseason. He played so well against the Buccaneers. I didn't understand, I never really fully grasped how physical of a player he was. That's what really has surprised me about his game, is how physical he is, how strong he is. There's multiple times he blew up a tight end and just slammed the running back in the backfield. That, we haven't seen that since, Zach Thomas. A linebacker blowing up, a tight end like he was a kid, and then just sticking the running back in the backfield. He's fast, he's super athletic. He's a great tackler. He sees it, the guy's down, and he hits really hard. I think the thing that really surprised me, like I just said 2 seconds ago, but I'm going to say it again, like a dummy, is how physical he is. I just didn't really, I don't know, anytime I've seen him play, I just, he seems like a good space player, but his physical, the way he was playing in the box was just really impressive and surprised me a lot. He reminds me a little bit of Brian Cox in the way that he's an athlete, he's a good tackler, he's a physical player, he's versatile, he can play in the middle linebacker position, he can also play on the edge, and he proved that. He's done that in preseason, but the play that sticks out to me, well, the 2 plays, is the forced fumble, and then the play where he just blew up that tight end, and not only did he blow the tight end up, but then he went and made the tackle as well. So he's surprised. He's really surprised me in how good he is. He has a chance, man, to be really good. I didn't think he was that good against the run and how physical he is in the tackle box. I didn't I knew he could cover, but I didn't think he was that strong, really, to be able to do some of the things that he does on the field. And like I said, he sees things very quickly. He reacts very fast, and he's a noticeable player. When you watch the games, he pops off screen. And he's been very impressive, very, very impressive, and huge surprise. And we need a player like that, and especially because he's been so versatile, in the way that he plays. We needed that, and again, this bleeds over, and we'll end the news right there. But so let's talk about. So these are my takeaways. That was probably my biggest takeaway of the game, is Sam and just how good he actually is, and hopefully he can consistently keep this up, because he might take Kiko or Raekwon's job. His explosiveness, his open field tackling, he hasn't given anything up in coverage yet, has been very impressive, and I think he's got us all very excited for what he can do on the field going forward. So yeah, he was the one that popped off screen for me during that entire game. Some other things of note before we get into the quarterback situation. Charles Harris had a really good game. I think he had 2 sacks, had a couple pressures. I think he had 2 sacks, if I'm correct. He might have only had 1, and I'm just getting the pressures mixed up. But regardless, he had a very good game. He looked explosive. We finally got to see his get off, which is, that's all we heard about when he was drafted. Oh, you got a great get off. And we finally got to see that in that game. I mean, he just blurred the tackle, and then got Jameis Winston down. Or not Jameis Winston. Who did he sack? It might have been Blaine Gabbert, or it was Ryan Griffin. But I loved the way he played. I thought he had a very good game, and that's something we need to see from him consistently. So that's another thing that I noted, or is something of note. I'm trying to think of anything else on defense. Jerome Baker looked really good in the scheme, in the system. He missed like 2. I want to say he missed 3 sacks, to be honest with you. He needs to get better at that, and I'm sure he will with his just being able to finish the play, because he looked amazing out there, especially within the scheme. That's another thing that I've noticed, just how disciplined the players are. And how the systems ran is just light years. Even in preseason, it's like, dang, man, it's like, this is what a defense should look like, and not with a bunch of busted coverages every game, going for 50-yard touchdowns when there's no one around the receiver. That happened on a consistent basis under Matt Burke for 2 years. So it's good to see everybody doing the right thing in their assignments, and I just like the scheme. The fact that it's matchup based, and the fact that the pressures that are set in this game are really good too. They're really well designed. I feel like they're not just like garbage, like every once in a while, like Matt Burke's was. Like, I swear to God, we got beat on every blitz that we ever ran with Matt Burke. So that's another thing the scheme looks really good, even though it's preseason, very vanilla. But there's a lot of things that he did last year with New England that we did, and especially some of those pressures, and some of the preseason games that we played so far. So I feel like the defense looks really good. I don't even think Xavier Howard played in that game, if I'm not mistaken. I know Kiko didn't, and I know Raekwon didn't, and a lot of our starters didn't play in that game. And we played very well, like very, very well. Very well. And I told you guys, this defense is going to be fun to watch, man. Especially the fact that Sam, if Sam can play like that in a regular season game, dude, oh my God, bro. If he can play like that in the tackle box with the secondary that we have, with the talent, if it's fully healthy, bro, bank it, dude. That gets me very excited. Very, very excited. Christian Wilkins also had a very nice game. I think he had. Let me look. I would have to look at this. I know he had 1 sack, but I want to say he had 2 sacks. But maybe it was only 1. It was more so a coverage sack than anything, but it still was great because he had great gap discipline. When the quarterback tried to scramble, he was right there, which is nice. We really saw that. I'm trying to see. I want to get this right because I don't want to say he had 2. He only had 1. Let's see here. I guess it really doesn't matter. Regardless, I thought he played pretty solid. It's good to see him get involved and make a play. I think it feels like I'm missing someone. I thought Eric Rowe had a solid day too. He looked pretty good. I'm trying to think who else. I was just thinking about how one more thing. Something just popped in my head. I was like, the fact that if Sam continues to play like he does, and then Jerome, which I think he's gonna have a great season, just based on how he's being used in the scheme. Those two, man, those are super athletic linebackers, dude, that fly around the field. That's gonna be tough to deal with, especially in the running game. I dare you to pull a guard against us, dude. Good lord. So yeah, that has great potential there. So I guess that really covers the defense. I felt like the defense continues to get me excited. They had a little some mishaps in the first preseason game, but I still felt like they looked pretty good, and they looked good in this game too, man. Going against the ones for the Bucks, they had Mike Evans out there, they had Chris Godwin out there, and for us to play like that is pretty impressive. And one thing I will say before we get to the offense, I thought if you guys watched the game, I don't know if you guys watched the Buccaneers broadcast, but that's the one I was watching. The funniest thing, like when Rondé, and again, well, this is very quick, but I thought this was hilarious. Rondé Barber was talking so much smack about our team and just literally talking about the Buccaneers like they're a Super Bowl contender. And then, they were driving a little bit, but obviously first of all, we missed a couple sacks and we should have made. So our defense wasn't playing terrible. We just missed a couple plays, and then we also, we cleaned it up once they started, getting downfield a little bit. And the fact that he was talking about how we're a rebuilding team, and they don't have a lot of their starters from a year ago. They don't have a lot of. They're just looking for players at this point. And then for us to stall their offense with our looking for players, and we looked good against their offense, dude. I thought that was hilarious, man. I was so happy when that happened. I was like, yeah, let's keep talking about our defense like that. So, let's see here. I mean, that was a very odd thing for me to bring up, but I had to bring it up, man. Don't talk smack, bro. You can't back it up. Don't sit here and talk smack. By the way, we played very well against them in practice, in joint practices. At one point, I think Xavier Howard had a 2-pick practice. I know he gave up like a touchdown. Whatever. But he gave up, I think, 1 touchdown on Mike Evans. But I feel like this defense is definitely turning in the right direction. So let's get into the offense. So I guess the first half is what we're gonna have to talk about. The offensive line. And it's hard for me to remember how many snaps Jesse took. It's very hard for me to remember. I don't know if he played. I know he didn't play that much. I know he didn't play the entire first half. But it needs I feel like it needs to be more consistent in both really facets of the game, the running and passing. It didn't look great. It didn't look good, especially when Ryan Fitzpatrick came in the game. It was very bad. But when Josh Rosen was in the game and some of the starters were playing, I felt like it looked pretty solid. I didn't think it looked totally awful at times. The running game is, very inconsistent right now, especially. So, again, the offensive line really is kind of stuck in the mud. I don't really think it got... I think it definitely improved. Michael Dieter had a good game, grading out with like a 92 or 91 grade is pretty dang cool. I feel like Shaq Calhoun is training in the right direction as well, and I still feel like I like Jesse at tackle, and obviously Laramie's good. So it's not like we're not getting better, but it still was very meh. I feel like I'm gonna get off the offensive line after this. When Ryan Fitzpatrick came in the game, he had no chance. Like the depth on this team with the offensive line right now is very bad. Like it's not good at all. Ryan Fitzpatrick, none of those snaps in my mind count because he didn't get any. To be honest with you, it sucks that Josh is gonna have to play with that particular line again. The rookie guards are taking a lot of snaps and they're getting better. It's just the tackles that are playing god awful. Like Isaiah Prince, he's had his moments, but he's not very consistent at all. And so obviously Jordan Mills is just basically, hey man, it's about 5 cents to get to the quarterback. Like he's just letting people go in like it's a crap and carnival game, for God's sakes. So the offensive line depth is an issue. It's a very big issue, and offensive lines are known not to be it's very rare for an offensive line to stay healthy throughout the season. So that's a very big issue. It's a very big problem. Hopefully they continue to get better, but the tackles are the issue, dude. Like the backup tackles are very bad, and it's not gotten any better from game 1 to game 2. So yeah, it sucks to see it. Like I said, Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's I don't even think it's fair to grade them both with some of the pass protection that he got in that second half. I was like, it just isn't fair. When Jake Grudok came in the game, I thought it got a lot better. Like it did get better as the game went on. I'll say that. Not really. After the first half, there was I would say it was decent, and then it dropped when Ryan Fitzpatrick got in the game, and then when Jake got in the game, I felt like it got a little bit better. But yeah, it's still super inconsistent, not very good, especially the depth. So Josh's performance in the first half, because you can judge this at least. I thought he played very well. I thought he played good. I don't think he did anything wrong. I mean, the 3rd and 5 play where he probably could have taken it for the first down. Brian had criticized him a little bit for he needs to step up in the pocket a little bit more to give his tackles some help. It's fair criticism. I know he missed a throw, but I can't remember who it was too. But the thing that impresses me the most about Josh is his accuracy, his ball placement. I think is the thing that impresses me the most about him. It's pretty dang good, dude. Like, his ball placement is ridiculous. He always, it doesn't matter how covered you are, especially downfield on deep throws. Like, he's always going to give you a chance to get the ball. And I think that's the most impressive thing about him. His pocket presence is pretty good. Despite the criticisms of him, maybe could have stepped up. I think his pocket presence is pretty dang good. His instincts are great. That play that he had where he scrambled around the pocket, threw it to Durham Smythe for a pretty good game, was a good example of that. He had there's a little drops there. I feel like he missed a read to Mike Gesicki at the end of half. You remember the play that Preston Williams, tipped it up in the air and almost came down with the touchdown. Mike was kind of open on that. But other than a bad throw, and I'm not even really gonna hate on him for the press or the misread to Gesicki, for the love of God. I thought he played pretty solid. I don't really have any gripes with how he played, at all, really. I don't have really criticisms. I'm trying to think of some. I know some people talk about how his technique is a little inconsistent, which is dumb, because his technique is literally just as good as I think as anybody else's. I've heard something. Oh, sorry, I got something on that. I've heard something like how he clicks his heels when he's throwing downfield. Dude, there are so many quarterbacks in the league right now that don't have perfect technique and play very at a high level, at least. Maybe not like Tom Brady and Drew Brees, who are technicians, for God's sakes, but that's some things that I heard some analysts saying. But other than that, which I don't think is an issue at all, I'm just looking at how he plays quarterback and does he get the ball into people's hands, and I think he's pretty solid day. It wasn't a high touchdown day, but he still threw for a good amount of yards. I think his reads can get a little bit better. The second game, he, instead of, maybe dumping it down a little bit, he's trying to push the ball down the field. The pick six, well, not a pick six, almost a pick six against the Falcons is a great example of that. Ran, I think, 2 hitches on the sideline, 2 seams up the middle, and we had an option route in the middle. And he threw to the option route when he had the hitch wide open. So, those are some things that he needs to get a little bit better on, is just making the right reads at the right times. He's been a little bit inconsistent about that throughout his career. But overall, I think he looks pretty dang good. And I could totally see a very successful offense being ran by him, for sure. His ball placement is the thing that is just, I think is his greatest asset. Just the way he can put the ball wherever he wants is very good. Him versus Ryan Fitzpatrick, there's nothing really like I said, Ryan just didn't have a chance, so I'm not even gonna compare the two. He didn't even get an opportunity, really, because the offensive line really didn't give him a chance. As for receivers, Isaiah Ford, continues to be a big part of what we've done so far in preseason. I think he's made a pretty good, a decent job of it so far. Preston Williams, trying to recreate what he did against the Falcons, had a few drops. Every receiver really was dropping a lot of passes. I feel like it was, to blame it on the rain is, a little whatever, but I don't think it's too much to worry about. Sometimes these things happen, especially with a young player that is getting a lot of praise and probably maybe felt the expectations a little bit. I don't think it's anything to worry about. He still got open, and I don't think he definitely doesn't have hand problems, that's for sure. So I'm not really concerned about the Preston Williams thing. As for some other takeaways, offensively, Pat, I think his name is Laird or Layard. I can't remember how you say his last name. the running back from Cal. He continues to have a solid preseason. I don't want to really overhype him too much because I feel like he's a good player. Well, I don't know if I should say. Just some of the stuff like that you got, like what a play. Like it really wasn't that impressive of a play. Like he was wide open in the flat because it was a blown coverage, and he scored a touchdown. Like that's, I'm not taking anything away from it, but I feel like the hype needs to be trimmed down a little bit with some of the things that he's done. But he has ran the ball pretty good at a good clip. I think that's it, man. I don't think I've really missed anything. Other than Mike Gesicki really kind of gets, I feel like there was a lot of times where him and Josh and Ryan Fitzpatrick, they have a good opportunity, especially in the red zone, and hopefully we use Gesicki a lot in those situations because their ball placement, especially Josh's, could really make him one of the better red zone threats in the league. So I hope we can see some of that because I do feel like Josh missed him up the seam before half, and that could have been a big play. But hopefully Mike comes out of his shell a little bit and we get to see some more plays be made. So yeah, overall I thought the defense looks really good. The offense, needs to be a little bit more consistent. Whether that be penalties, drop, catches, misreads, stuff like that needs to be cleaned up, and I feel like, we'll see a better performance because the talent is there. We just need to execute a little bit better. So yeah, those are my takeaways and I think we will get better, and I can't wait to see the team against the Jags. One thing I will say before we move on to the clip of the week, then we'll get into the fan Q&A. I really don't understand, the fact that the offensive line is playing this poorly. So what are we going to do? We're going to put Ryan Fitzpatrick in the game for the first half again, and then just put Josh in with a bunch of, I don't understand the method here. Ryan hasn't gotten at least from what we've seen as fans, Ryan hasn't gotten a fair shake, and if you flip it on its head, then Josh isn't going to. And they didn't play with any real starters against the Buccaneers. DP didn't play, Jakeem Grant didn't play, neither did Albert Wilson. Those are three very important players to the offense. Neither did Kenyon Drake. Jesse and Laramie barely played. It's not really that much of a fair shake against the Jaguars. They should go series for series with the starters to see who's better. That's what they should do. But I don't know. I just feel like it's dumb. What are we gonna do? Put Josh in with the bad offensive line? I don't know. It's just really weird. All right, so let's get to the clip of the week. Now, this is what Minka had to say about him playing a different position and what this clip kind of sucks, if I'm being honest with you. But this is the only clip we had. About the whole situation about him not being happy where he plays and about his mom saying that on Twitter, I guess. So, yeah, this is the clip, and we're going to play it now. Sorry, guys, it's getting there.
Your mom, your dad. What was your reaction?
I mean, it is what it is. She's being honest and saying how she feels. Nothing wrong with it. I wish she would have addressed me first or talked to me first before it happened. But it is what it is. I mean, everybody has their opinion. My mother feels very strongly. She's not wrong. You know what I'm saying? But the coaches asked me to do something right now. I got to do what they're asking me to do. And if we want to have certain discussions in the future, we'll have those discussions.
How say you're a young player that wants to play your game too?
So the key thing there, and that's the end of the clip, is when he says she's not wrong. So he's basically saying, yeah, I don't like playing strong safety. It sucks. Yeah, it does suck. I mean, first of all, he doesn't play that position. He hasn't gotten his body right for that. He doesn't play that position, so it's very tough for him. And again, this is only in practice, and hopefully this doesn't continue, and he can just go back to covering people and playing the run from his position. And, he's very good at that. He's one of the smartest players I've ever seen in terms of a rookie season. One of the best first-round rookie years that we've had in a very long time. So I'm very, I don't think any of this really matters. All right, so let's get into the fan Q&A. where we answer fans' questions. And let me tell you something, guys, right now. When I say it's hot where I am right now, I'm not. It's hot, dude. Okay? For some reason, the dogs aren't panting. But, dude, I'm starting to feel it right now, dude. I got sweat in my eye, dude. It's getting real. It is getting real. Very, unneeded information that you guys didn't need to know. But we're stalling so we can get to the fan questions. And I can get to the list here. Alright, let's see how many questions we got. I know we got a lot this week. 33. That's got to be one of the I want to say it's a very, very high number. I don't know what the most questions we've gotten in a week. Maybe 42, something like that. But this is very high than what we usually get. So this first question comes from Douglas Ward. Douglas Ward asks, "Hey Skaggs, I want to see Josh Rosen play the entire season, and let's see what he's got. Let's give him every chance to either succeed or fail. Then going into next season, we know what we have or need. Fitzpatrick is a journeyman backup, and this team and the entire league knows it. What are your thoughts?" I mean, it's hard to say, man, because Ryan's barely played. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Josh has played way more snaps than Ryan has in preseason, and when Ryan did get a chunk of playing time, he didn't have any help. So it's kind of a tough, because I want to be fair. It's very tough to criticize anybody right now because of how little one of them has played. So yeah, I mean, hopefully in the Jaguars game we get a better look. But who is better right now? I couldn't tell you, because it's just too hard to tell right now. I mean, Ryan's, like I said, barely taking any snaps. When he did took a good amount of snaps, his offensive line just didn't do him any favors. And hopefully we get to see him more, and then both get a little bit more even chance in the next game. But if you were legit just going off of preseason right now, which is not fair, and you shouldn't do that, Josh clearly is winning. But it's just because Ryan Fitzpatrick, we just don't know. But who do I want to see play? Obviously I want to see Josh play. I've been a big fan of his ever since he was rumored to be drafted here. I wanted that to happen. I like him as a player. I think he has the chance to be a very, very great quarterback in this league, and he hasn't showed me anything that he can't be. He can't do that, and I'm excited for his future with this team. So the question was, and let me make sure I get this right, the question from Douglas. Do I want to see Josh Rosen play the entire season? Yeah, I do. This next question comes from SM. SM asks, "I'm watching the game replay on NFL Network. Rosen is getting killed worse than I remember. How do we protect the quarterback?" If you're talking about the first game, he was playing with basically the same offensive line that Fitzpatrick was playing with, for the most part. So yeah, it's just the depth is really bad, man. I feel like a lot of people watch the preseason right now, and listen, I'm not gonna try to tell you anything different. The depth is pretty bad, but when the starters have been out there, Michael Dieter's getting better, Shao Calhoun's getting better, Daniel Kilgore we've barely really ever seen, but when most of them have been out there together, which it's been not that many times, I think they've played pretty solid. So the starters I don't think are as bad as what you perceive as the entire game, is basically what I'm saying. I don't think it's as bad as people are saying. It's really just the depth, I think, is the level of trash that it's been, or it just hasn't been great. But how do we protect the quarterback? I feel like I'm excited to see the starters play a significant amount of snaps together against a first-team defense. Hopefully we see that against the Jaguars, and then we'll come on a definitive answer to how bad or how good the starting offensive line is. But I think my answer to that question is we just need to see the starters more. This next question comes from Seymour. He asks, "Hey Skaggs, if you have not already addressed this in your oh my god, let's start this over, guys. Jesus. Hey Skaggs, this comes from Derry. He says, "Hey Skaggs, if you did not already addressed this in your upcoming podcast. What is your thoughts on Patrick Laird? Laird? Or Liard? No, Laird, yeah. The running back from California. Or from Cal. I don't want to say he's overhyped, but I think other than some of the runs that he's had, I feel like some of the catching, that was basic. I mean, there was a blown coverage. There was no one there, So I think he's had some good runs. I don't think it's... His chances of making the roster are still very low. Let's put it that way. Unless he makes the team on special teams, I don't know. I just don't see it. Him making the football team as of now. He's got to do a little bit more, especially to make it as a running back and get actual snaps there. But maybe he can, make it as a 4, and he can beat Mark Walton. Because he's definitely played better than Mark Walton. This next question comes from Ron. Ron asks, not the Dolphins, but what do you think about the NFL wiping out Josh Gordon's suspension and reinstating him? I think it's bull, and it looks like Rodgers playing favorites. I think you're absolutely right, Ron. The fact that, the man has, violated league rules multiple times, and for some reason now, he doesn't get a bigger suspension, now that his, the person that runs the organization that he plays for is Robert Kraft. That's a little iffy. I don't know. I feel like if he was on any other team, he definitely would have gotten a harder sentence. Now, I don't really, I guess it was substance abuse again, if I had to guess. I don't really know what he did wrong. I can't remember, but regardless, he did something wrong. And he's violated league rules multiple times. So, yes, there's definitely a bias there for sure. If there isn't a bias, I feel like it's just a subconscious thing where it's it's the Patriots. If that makes any sense. The window dressing's probably a little bit better because, maybe Rodgers okay, it's the Patriots. It's different than the 0-16 Browns. You're suspended for 2 years. You know what I mean? It's I think it's a little bit different because of that too. But that is a bias. So yeah, I agree with that. The next question comes from Julian. He asks, should we just keep Rudock and Rosen and get rid of Fitzpatrick? Both have been playing better than Fitzpatrick. Well, Jake Rudock, obviously, I think he's played fine. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a way better quarterback than Jake Rudock. But, yeah, I don't think we should keep Jake Rudock over Ryan Fitzpatrick. Jake definitely doesn't, let's just put it this way, he doesn't have an arm. You can tell when he throws the ball, he's made some bad decisions. He should have thrown a pick six against the Falcons, and then he threw another one up for grabs against the Bucks. That he actually came down with this time. So I think everybody needs to kind of pump the brakes on Jake Rudock. He definitely makes throws on time. He makes good reads. He makes accurate balls, but he just doesn't have the arm, I feel like, to be an NFL starting quarterback. Do you guys now, despite this being in a playoff game, and a quick example of a quarterback losing his arm strength is when if you guys remember, was it 2008 or 2009? I guess technically it was 2009. The playoff game against the playoff game against the Ravens at home, where Chad Pennington pretty much just laid an egg because his arm was just not the same. That's the difference between someone who has an arm and who doesn't anymore, at least. I feel like Jake has that level of an arm where it can get really tough against a good defense where you got to make a great throw. And I think Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen have pretty dang good arms when it comes to strength. This next question comes from Axel. He asks, Skaggs, who do you think starts at middle linebacker? Sam Egovan, or however you say his name, or Raekwon McMillan? Right now, Sam. He just looks more explosive, sideline to sideline, coverage, physical, everything. Every down player, Sam right now, if he could do that in a regular season game, he clearly is the starter. This next question comes from SM. SM asks, we have covered the Trent Williams trade option, but what do you think about doing a deal for a guard, maybe Forrest Lamp? I would have to look at what the market is right now for guards. I really don't know, but I don't know. Michael Dieter's playing good right now. He's getting better. Excuse me. Hopefully that position gets better. But we do need depth there, that's for sure. So maybe we should I think, I don't know, depth of the interior I don't think is as bad as the tackle. So I think the number one priority right now should be either getting, at least getting better depth of tackle, and that will naturally happen as, some of our GMs and our scouting department will look at other players from around the preseason, and maybe some teams have better depth than we do, and maybe we find a gem there. Alright, this next question comes from Ron. Ron asks, we keep 5 or 6 wide receivers. I think 5 with either Parker or Sills being moved off the team, allowing us to keep Isaiah Ford. You're crazy, Ron. If you actually want to keep Devontae Parker and Kenny Stills, or keep Isaiah Ford over those two, you're out of your name mind. Ron, there is no way those two no way, dude. First of all, we just extended Devontae, and I don't want to mean first of all, I respect your opinion. I'm not saying you're dumb for thinking that, because you're not. I mean, I can understand why you would say this, but I completely disagree with you. I don't think Isaiah Ford is nowhere near the level of those two. I don't think Isaiah Ford is someone who can have 900 receiving yards in a season. At least he hasn't proved that yet. Isaiah Ford is very much a slot receiver. He can't take the top off of a defense. He's nowhere near as physically gifted as those two. He doesn't have as much experience or production, and he's been in the league for a good minute now. So, I just don't see that. But do we keep 5 or 6? I don't know. That's a great question. I mean, you got to keep Preston. I think you keep DP. You keep Kenny. That's 3. You got Jakeem. You got Albert. That's 5. Is there anybody I'm missing? Maybe I'm missing someone. I'm just forgetting. But I mean, there's 5. Those are 5 good receivers right there. That's tough to move on for. So I wouldn't be surprised 5 or 6 somewhere in there. Maybe you keep a 6 on special teams. This next question comes from Take Me Out. He asks, Isaiah Prince impressed me this Friday with his play on Friday. He was getting to the second level and really dominating the rush from the end on most plays. How do you feel about his progress? He definitely needs to get more consistently better. I don't think he's ready to start anytime soon. I think that's probably where I'm at with him. This next question comes from Ron. He asks, I think Patrick Laird, I swear to God if I'm pronouncing this wrong, it's going to be so annoying, from Cal, should we put up both Gaskin and Walton? He runs with power, he has really good vision, can block, and excels at catching. The question is, do you agree with this, or do you have a different outlook? I see Walton and Gaskin as practice squad at this point. I definitely think he's better than Walton. I think Gaskin could have done all of the things that Sam did, or Patrick, right? Yeah, Patrick, excuse me, did in some of those plays that he got. I think Miles makes all of those plays, the big plays that Patrick made. I like the way Gaskin is played. I think if you're keeping 4 running backs, and it's close, I think it's a close 3 right now. I just feel like Miles is a little bit more explosive as a player. But yeah, that's pretty much a toss-up. I definitely like the way he's playing, though. I definitely think he's better than Mark Walton, though. This next question comes from Bad Bandit. He asks, what's going on with Minka? He's missing tackles and struggling in practice. He's starting to worry me. It's just because he's changed his position because due to injury and practice, he had to fill some of those holes. But it's definitely nothing to worry about. This next question comes from Ron. Ron asks, the Patriots seem to have 13 really good offensive linemen and can't keep them all. Would you sign 1 or 2 of them? I've actually noticed that, by the way, Ron. You're right about that. If so, who do you sign that isn't one of their starting 5? Let me look at their depth chart really quick. There's no way they're cutting Isaiah Wynn, but I watched some of their game, and he popped off tape, dude. He looks really good. Let's see here. And I shouldn't say tape. Let's see here. Win, because I'm definitely not no professional. You definitely can get better on that. Let's see here. Patriots depth chart. I might have to not do this because we're running out of time. Let's see here. God dang it, man. Alright, we're going to have to move on. I would have to look at their team really quickly, but I've noticed some of their players doing very well. Especially on the offensive line. A lot of them have looked pretty good. I could totally see that happening, for sure. I can't give you specific names right now, just because there's a lot going on, and I'm trying to get some of these questions in. But yeah, you're right. New England could definitely be a source of some good offensive linemen. This next question comes from Ron. Ron asks, if the Patriots cut or waived Brandon Bolden, do you think Miami should bring him back as our number 3 or stick with the currently on our roster? Brandon is such a good special teams player, and he's a good running back. I don't think he's going to be cut, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe no. I feel like we've got a lot of young players that could potentially become something. So no, I feel like we got to stick with the young players. This next question comes from Will. Will asks, besides Preston, what other players you see making a strong push for a starting job or at least a significant playing time? Sam Aguavin. He's looked really good. This next question comes from Tech Me Out. He asks, the Ravens have always been a tough matchup for the Fins, but I think with the scheme and keeping Lamar Jackson in the pocket, it's a very winnable game. I also think the coaching staff and insights to the Patriots can go a long ways in Game 2. And the fact that we very well may face the Chargers without Melvin Gordon and Derwin James is making that game very winnable. I'd like to get your thoughts on how big a part do you think coaching will factor in the few games, and if you're in agreement that the Fins start 3-0 crazy as it might sound. I don't like to predict records, but I will say this. We started 3-0 last year, and we were, by ESPN, I think we were ranked like 31 or 32 among all NFL teams. So, and we started 3-0 then. So, that means we beat 3 teams that were ranked higher than us on their rankings, that were supposedly better than us. So, anything's possible. I don't like to predict records, but I do agree with you about, especially with the mantra of this team about being physical. I feel like we should play the Ravens better. This next question comes from Ron. He says, with Preston and Isaiah looking really good, do you finally see Parker Stills out the door? It's the best thing for the team right now, in my opinion. I disagree with you, Ron. I don't really know what has Isaiah Ford done? That's so good that, and I really don't know. But I just haven't seen. I've obviously seen everything. I just don't see what you guys have seen, and you're not the only one, Ron. A lot of people like Isaiah Ford. I just don't see it in games. You're getting rid of production that Devontae's hasn't been consistent enough to be a number 1 wide receiver, but he has great production when compared to Isaiah Ford, and so does Kenny Stills. You're losing a proven commodity in the league. I just don't see that trade-off being beneficial, in my opinion. This next question comes from Will. He says, how strongly do you think Preston's chances are to snag a starting role? I'm a little concerned Devontae hasn't come with a strong enough response yet. Well, he didn't play last night. Friday, excuse me. I'm sorry. Excuse me. And he hasn't taken as many snaps as Preston, so it's a little bit unfair. But yeah, I do think Preston will definitely make the roster, and he will get playing time at receiver. I don't know if he'll start, but he's definitely going to get snaps. So let's see here. How many questions? Oh, man, we have a few more left, and I think that's going to have to be it, guys. I'm going to add some of these to next week's. So everybody I missed, let's see if we can shout them out really quick. TRMC, Larry L, Chad, J. Cray. Let's see, who else did we miss? Tree001, and I think those are the only ones that we didn't answer questions from you guys. Sorry about that. We will definitely get you guys next time. Yeah, and that's going to be it for this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys continue to hopefully support the channel and the content on this channel. And most of all, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Because if you didn't, then what am I talking about right now? So, yeah. And if you made it 59 minutes into the video, I'm assuming you enjoyed, so what am I even saying anymore? So, yeah, that's going to be it, guys. Very excited. to continue to cover this team, and hopefully we see improvement on the offensive line. So I'm Skax83, and I'll see you guys in the next one.